Every day I spend my time drinking wine, feeling fine, waiting here to find the sign that
Hello everyone. We've just had 3 days of pouring rain, and this morning we had hail, so we thought that this is a perfect day to taste some summery rosés. And rosé is also a key category in yachting, as you know. And perhaps if you've been in the industry in a few years, you notice that there's more and more of ultra premium rosés available on the market. Maybe 10 years ago there was only Domaine Haute and Chateau Minuti that was popular in the yachting industry. At least that was the two biggest names. And now there's maybe 10 or 12 brands that are quite big and taking more and more market shares. And one wine that I think that you know is Whispering Angel from Chateau d'Esclans. And the owner of Chateau d'Esclans is called Sacha Lechine, and he has really changed the way the rosé industry in Provence works. He really was a game changer. In '96 he bought an estate north of Saint-Tropez called Chateau d'Esclans, with the aim of making ultra premium rosé, and he was asking himself, why cannot a rosé wine be as elegant and complex and deep as the top quality Burgundy? So he had the Burgundian approach when he wanted to make his wines. So the Burgundian approach in winemaking is a lot of oak involved. Of course, they use the Chardonnay grape for white wine in Burgundy, but he uses the Provence grapes, mainly Grenache, but also Cinsault and some Carignan and some Syrah. But he wanted to make wines with the same depth and complexity, and that also involved some oak aging. So we're going to taste two wines from Chateau d'Esclans. First, we're going to taste the Whispering Angel, which is a standard or a classic style of Côtes de Provence rosé. So in an unoaked way, it's just fermented in stainless steel, very short skin contact. There's only a few hours, maybe 6 hours in the press of skin contact. Fermentation at very low temperatures. And it gives a very easy drinking, light-bodied style where all the aromatics is based on the fruit. So this is the first time I tasted 2017 vintage. And it has all those aromatics that you expect from a rosé from Provence, with pink grapefruit, some passion fruit, some slightly unripe white peach, and also a floral perfume. Really nice, and although it's recently bottled, it is already very expressive on the nose. So great concentration of flavors and crisp acidity and rather a short finish, but that's an easy drinking, delicious, lovely rosé for beaches and lunches and those more social occasions. And that's mostly what rosé is about, the social occasions. It's not the wine that's in the center, it's the company, what's happening around the wine, that's the center for traditional easy drinking rosés. But there is more to rosé than just this style. There are actually some wines, some rosé wines with much more complexity, much more depth and flavor, and can last for a longer time. And I think those wines are the ones that's going to give, or that already are giving, a much more serious identity to the rosé category. The first wine to do this was the top cuvées of Chateau d'Esclans, at least on the first wine on a larger scale. So Chateau d'Esclans makes two top cuvées. One is called Garus, which is around 80 euros a bottle, and then they make this one, L'Éclat. And L'Éclat is fermented in oak, so it's Garus, and aged in oak for around, I think it's around 6 months now. It was a bit longer before. And they do it in a very complex manner, and it gives a whole different style and of aromas to the wine. Also, the first one was 2017 vintage. This is 2015 vintage, and normally you say you cannot drink rosés after a year, but these wines, since they're made from old vines, the grapes are much more concentrated. They have been given depth and structure thanks to the also the oak aging, and they do something called, they stir around the yeast cells, the lees, in the oak barrels, which also gives some extra texture and depth to the wine. So these wines, the top cuvées of Chateau d'Esclans, like Les Clans and Garus, can keep for much longer. So here we have the 2015 vintage. And aromas here is more some nectarine, some apricot, some vanilla from the oak. In oak you will find vanillin, so that we will have notes of vanilla and a slight note of roasted almonds. Slight note of herbs as well, like Provence herbs. So it's a medium-bodied wine, not as a light-bodied wine. Much greater depth and texture, almost a waxy texture to the wine. Much longer length, and also the oak is coming through quite a bit on the end of the palate. This is not a wine that's. This is for food. It's delicious on its own as well. But if you want to serve a nice dinner on board, and you want to have rosé with your dinner, then this is a more suitable than perhaps the Whispering Angel, which is more a lunchtime, more easy drinking rosé. So this is more a gourmet wine. Really delicious. There is another producer that I really like a lot. They haven't really made it in yachting yet. It's Chateau Gassier. This is their top cuvée, 946. It's the altitude of one of their it's the altitude of something around there, I don't remember actually, but the wine is delicious. And they also use some oak, very little, I think it's around 20%, but it still gives a nice texture and extra complexity to the wine. Also apricot, nectarine, and some soft strawberries on the nose. Really a perfumey lift, but lighter and more lifted and perfumed than the Les Clans, which is a bit broader and more textured. This is also the 2015 vintage, and I wasn't expecting that to hold up as well as it has. But although it just has a like 10 or 20% oak, there's not as old vines here as it is for Les Clans. And it's holding up beautifully. So again, although a lot of rosés are made to be drank within the year because they lose those primary pink grapefruit and passion fruit aromas, this is showing amazingly well still. That's also quite an expensive rosé, for around 30 euros, I think it is, a bottle. And this ultra premium trend of rosés, where they're around 20-30 euros, is really started by Sacha Lechine when he came to Provence, started selling Les Clans at 40 euros a bottle, Garus at 80 euros a bottle. People around him were looking, oh, I want to do that too. And of course then you have to do something different in order to charge that much money. So a lot of people started to play a bit with oak, and a lot of people don't like oak and rosé. I personally love it. I think it's a great complement. And I think it gives a lot of the wines a bit more serious edge to them, and not over-oaking them, obviously. I think one of my favorite rosés, or it is one of my favorite rosés, if not maybe the favorite. It's from Mas de Cadenet, Négrel Cadenet. It's their top cuvée. It's around 20 maybe euros. And this is 2014 vintage. So now and you see that the color is more orangey. If it was, the first one was a bit more pink in color, a cooler pink. And This one is also fermented in oak, and they harvest these grapes later than they would for normal rosés, because he says that he wants to make a winter rosé, so almost with a red wine philosophy, that there's going to be some tannins here, and the skin contact also is longer for this wine than for the other wines. Here's almost dried apricots, really ripe strawberries, and vanilla. Oh, it's a really complex nose, almost like a cognac note to it. Medium bodied, very balanced. The longest length of them all, which is a key indicator to quality. And very lovely, delicious, and serious rosé. I think it's one of the, in my opinion, it's the most serious rosé I have tasted, and one of the few I would drink at home and really enjoy as a fine wine. So there's a lot to say about rosé, from the more where we started, high quality Whispering Angel representing the easy drinking fruity forward style, to the more serious oak aged wines that can age for a bit longer and can accompany really well meat dishes, maybe not beef, but chicken and veal and lighter meat dishes, even in a rainy and haily day like we're having today. So bon dégustation. I'm going to share the rest of the bottles with my colleagues now to forget about the rain.